Happy Friday, light workers. It is Emily, your everyday light worker. I know I've been gone for a while. It's been a crazy July. Going to talk about that for a little bit. But I'm here today to talk about what happened in July and what we can expect for August and how we can do our work as light workers. So I started this channel not even a month ago. I want to say in July for the light workers who are, excuse me, just coming online. So a lot of people are waking up right now. We're in a time of just amazing global transition. So we're waking up, and those of us, if you stumbled onto this channel, you probably are a light worker because that's how this works. We kind of just energetically, intuitively seek out other light workers. So if you stumbled onto this channel, you're probably a light worker and you need to learn how to do your work more intentionally because you've probably been doing the light work your whole entire life. You just weren't aware of it. I know that was the case for me. So, what do light workers do? Well, we hold the light. And by that, I mean we hold a certain amount of light more than most people can physically do, just because we've always been more awake than other people are to the light that we hold within ourselves. Everyone should, I can't say for a fact that everyone does, but everyone should have a light within them that is connected to the divine light, which sustains all life and light. Um, we're just more connected to that light, and we have the ability to work with that light. And I'm going to talk about how that is done and how I did that for most of July, which was why I didn't finish the chokra challenge that I started in July. And I apologize if you were following that challenge. I just got um, really swamped with light work that I was doing, and I couldn't finish the challenge. So for July, what we were doing primarily, got another one of my visuals up. We put this up close. So for July, we were primarily clearing and transmuting 3D energies. And depending on who you are, that's going to show up differently for you than it does for me. So for me, I'm a civil rights attorney, and I have always had this desire to stand up for the underdog. And right now, and there are so many different types of underdogs. It's not just about race. It's not just about sex. It's not just about being bullied, but there are people who are oppressed by those in power or those who have more power in so many different kinds of ways. And it's always been, I feel, my role to stand up for these people and to help them stand up for themselves and to help them be able to stand in their truth. And so for me, July, I was just hard hit with a lot of this work. I have clients, and my clients were are people who these particular clients are battling racial injustice and gender injustice, the kind of injustice that happens when you're not in the predominant race. So my clients are black, and you're female. So a lot of work. I had to do a lot of work around helping to clear out that density that is attached to oppressing people because they are black and female. And that's, like I said, that's not the only kind of underdog, but a lot of energy for me in July was spent on helping that particular um, oppression against that particular type of individual clear out. And it was just really exhausting because that is a very dense, oppressive 3D structure. And so when you try to clear it out, there's just a whole lot of resistance to it. And it's all energetic. So it's not like, I'm talking to a clan for these clients. It's not like that. I'm just dealing with regular, ordinary, everyday American structures, but the energy behind that oppression, the energy in America behind the oppression of all Black people, not necessarily women, but just all of them, is very intense. And that energy is very desperate right now to get its way. It wants to keep oppressing people based on race. So that energy is really, really just rearing up. And so we're seeing that in other places. For example, Portland, Oregon is another example of that energy trying to clear. So in Portland, and it's funny because most of the people in Portland are white, but they wanted to have their Black Lives Matter protests. And so they were really standing strong in that energy, trying to clear out that density. And then you had all of that counter energy that is like, no, we want this oppression to still continue rearing up. And we're going to continue to see that happening because while we're clearing and transmuting the energies, that is causing the structures, the 3D structures, to collapse. And with that collapse, um, there's just a lot of energy that kind of just gets displaced. You know, when these structures are collapsing, the energy is getting displaced, and it's irritated, and it's angry, and it's seeking, you know, what it needs to be fed. So the energy is chaotic. The energy is hungry, and the energy wants it wants its fuel, which is fear. So we're going to talk about fear and how that's we're seeing a ton of that right now. So let's go back to my visual and talk about for August what we're going to see with the collapse of the global 3D structures. So the global 3D structures are just collapsing like crazy right now, and with that comes a lot of fear, and that fear, or a lot of need for fear, because those old 3D structures run off of the energy of fear. And so what we're seeing now is just a whole lot of attempts by certain nefarious forces to create that fear so that it can use that fear to fuel these crumbling systems, but it's not working because the systems are crumbling. And so that fear energy is becoming that energy that is that power source that's seeking that fear to run these systems, these crumbling systems, is getting more and more frustrated. So I want to talk about what fear is exactly. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So say that again with me. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And we've got a lot of systemic structures trying to create that false evidence and make it real. And it's all about having power and control that is accustomed to having through the 3D structures, and using that power and control to keep people afraid and to keep them oppressed. And it's not working as well as it used to. And so the structures are just getting more and more desperate, and they're getting louder, and they're getting more demanding. And so that's why we're seeing what we're seeing in our political systems, in our economic systems, in our news with regard to this coronavirus. It's all about creating that fear to fuel the structures. So let's go back to the visual that I made. So, okay, so here is you. Oh, here, no, I always get this, it's backwards, so it confuses me where I need to point. So here you are, and you need to have a shield around you to protect yourself from all of this energy that is just going mad all over the place. So um, we've got this huge fear monster. It's a good way to think about it. Oh, I keep pointing the wrong way. Fear monster is a good way to think about it. And the fear monster is, you know, in the news. You know, the news just is all bad news, and it's just the whole point of the news is to generate fear within you and to then feed off of that fear that it's created in you. So, you know, they keep the coronavirus stuff in the news. They keep the politics in the news. They keep a lack scarcity paradigm about the economy in the news. And it's all about, holding on to power and controlling you, all the populace. Meanwhile, you're looking for freedom. And how we do this is by getting control of our energy that we are creating and not creating fear energy that feeds all of this. So, whenever you are creating that fearful energy, you are feeding those crumbling systems, and that's a waste of your energy because the systems are crumbling. It just is what it is. Those old 3D systems are crumbling. They're not going to make it. They don't have the energy to sustain themselves. And they're desperate right now. So they're going to try to throw everything at us in order to get the energy that they need to maintain themselves. But it is a wrap for those structures that are all about control and power and the ego. Those structures no longer have the energy to maintain themselves. So, what our task is as light workers is to, not feed these fear-seeking monsters. So what you do is you make sure that you're not watching the news, especially if it's going to create fear within you. That you are not stressing the collapsing political and economic systems, because again, that creates the fear that is feeding these systems. So here's something that we all need to remember: everything is energetic. Everything. Um, this notebook that I'm holding, that I drew these visuals on, this is just energy. This picture of Einstein, this bed that I'm sitting on my bed when I do these. Um, this room that I'm in, it's all energy. And the energy manifests itself and creates itself based on what you, what vibration you're sending out to it. So if you're sending out fearful energy, your world organizes around you in fearful ways. So that's why it's very important not to do that. So for August, what we really need to focus on is, because the 3D grid is collapsing, is what kind of world do we want to create? What kind of world do we want to be in? So when you think and when you feel, and it's important also to focus on how you feel, what you want in your heart, what you think would be best for yourself, for those around you, by really getting into your heart chakra and working with that energy. I've talked about that before. So really, really focus on, not on what you think is wrong or what you think is falling apart or what you think is collapsing. Do not focus your energy there. That is wasted energy. Focus on what it is that you want to create, the change that you want to see in the world, and jot down ideas about how you can play your part in that, how you can transmute this energy. So many people are doing that right now. So it's all of the people working together collectively and energetically. So all of us light workers are doing the work. And because there's so many doing the work, we are all connected energetically, even if we're not connected physically. So the coronavirus does a lot to keep people separated physically, but that doesn't have an impact on what's going on energetically, because the energy is free to move. You can't stop that movement no matter what. So, um, with regard to all of that, um, keep in mind that what you think and what you feel is really what is most important during these times. So, keep your thoughts upon the reality that you want to create, and make sure that you infuse those thoughts with powerful, energetic, high vibrating feelings that are going to create the reality. So that's where we're at. Um, if you have any questions about any of this, you can leave them in the comments section. I would highly recommend that you take a look at Lori Ladd's video called entitled The Next 2 Weeks. I'll leave a link to it in the comments section because she talks more about how you can navigate the energies as they collapse and they clear. And that's the work right now, just navigating these energies in the way that light workers need to navigate them. All right? So keep up the light work, guys. We got this. Emily, everyday light worker. Bye.